So, like you told us earlier, you moved from US to India. That is in itself a huge change for anyone. But when we talk about accessibility, stigma, and inclusive society, that must be two different nations.
Yes, so very frankly, I was not very happy with the move to India. The stigmas here are very much cultural embedded.
Right.
There are universal stigmas that I can get into when we talk about stigmas, but the stigmas that are prevalent in India are very cultural based, which is very problematic because I have a disability which inferiorizes me from the societal perspective. Then on top of that, I'm a female, and in India, females are inferiorized rather than males. So I'm kind of like a double, triple minority here,
Right.
in India.
It's also being said that disability community in itself is quite fragmented because there are multiple kind of disabilities. Invisible disability, visible disability, then we have developmental or progressive disabilities. So how can one cater about it from the perspective solely from the policy side?
I think disabilities are very fragmented and all around the world. है ना? सिर्फ इंडिया में नहीं है. Invisible disabilities यहाँ भी है, फिर बाहर भी है ना? So it's fragmented everywhere, but in terms of policies, जैसे हमारे दुनिया में white है, black है, you know, and there are others, Hinduism, Christianity, Islam. There has to be not one, maybe 3, maybe 4, maybe 10 policies, but it can't be one for every different person. Everyone has to be mainstream. जो मैं देख रही हूँ, हमारे इंडिया में ज़्यादा क्या होता है, segregation होता है. ये women के लिए होता है, ये men के लिए होता है, ये disabled के लिए होता है, ये old people के लिए होता है, ये बच्चे के लिए होता है, ये 18 above के लिए होता है. So our society here, I think, is very segregated. And I think between policymakers and stakeholders, we should try to mainstream everything.
When you're faced with a challenge and a hurdle in life, you have 2 options: to either live with it as a foe or live with it as a friend. For the first 20-odd years of being diagnosed with disability, I chose to live with my disability as a foe, meaning when the tide was pulling me downstream, I was trying to swim upstream. So for 20 years, it was a battle every day. Now, for the last 10 years, I changed the game and I decided to live with my disability as a friend, meaning I started to try and understand what I could learn. I tried to understand the positivity in my situation, and I've tried to live with my disability despite the challenges, trying to live with my disability, trying to rise above and help others with the challenges that I had.
I think that's a very poignant statement when you said like women in India and a woman in disability in India is doubly marginalized.
Yes, it is very marginalized. It's very prevalent. You just go to the stores, you just look at the education system, you see the preference, the importance of males over females. And me coming from the US or the West, where independence is more stressed, it's very bothersome to me because I myself am more of a feminist. And then on top of that, I have a disability. So being a very strong person who's marginalized even more and looked at weirdly in the streets, it bothers me.
The next thing that I've learned, and that many of us learn by default when faced with a life-changing situation, is resilience. Many of us are stubborn and have very rigid mindsets, me included, but being able to adapt and learn through situations that pose challenges is a huge asset. And because my disability forced me to learn this, I can say that I am grateful enough to be one of those who can go to any situation and figure out a solution. And figure out how not to drown in that solution.
So I would like to know more about your journey as the life coach and also as a disability activist in India.
So I think my journey is very simple. My journey is our mission दूसरे को मदद करना, है ना? So I am, one of the degrees I have is in psychology. So whether it's mental, whether it's depression, stress, anger, जो भी है, that kind of restricts us and kind of bottles us in. That's what I try to help people get over, whether you have a disability or not, है ना? जो when you have a disability, you tend to have more of an inferiority complex, especially जब मैंने देखा इंडिया में, क्योंकि फिर your family, friends, media, disability को ज़्यादा यहाँ पे marginalize करते.
Right.
तो जो लोग चल नहीं सकते या देख नहीं सकते क्या कुछ प्रॉब्लम है, they always feel like more ashamed, है ना, versus the West where I came from.
Friends, compassion is needed to be a kind human, and at the end of the day, that's all that matters. It doesn't matter how successful you are. It doesn't matter how much or how far you can walk. It doesn't matter how big your family is. At the end of the day, it's what kind of person you are, how much you care for others, how much you love others.